All right, so we are going to now play around with creating and moving items around within arrays. So we're going to do this by working with an array called states, and we are going to play around with, again, using strings within an array. All right, so first thing we're going to do, you hopefully have opened up arrays-starter.html, which should allow you to follow along with me. You are going to you're going to type var states. So we are declaring a new array called states, and the way that we declare an array is we use these square brackets, and within the square brackets we are going to use quotes quotes and commas in order to declare each of those different array items. So we have DC, we have Virginia, we have Maryland, and we have Delaware. Okay? All right, so there we go. We have our array. We have done that, declared a new array called states. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to add West Virginia to the next spot in the array. So the way we're going to do that is we are going to say states, and then we are going to put what West Virginia's index value will be in these square brackets, right? So remember that the index for an array starts with 0, which means currently DC is at index value 0, Virginia is at index value 1, Maryland is at index value 2, Delaware is at index value 3. So even though there are 4 items in this array, the largest index value at this point in time is 3. So to add West Virginia, we are going to put the number 4 within these square brackets, which is going to allow us to add West Virginia to index value 4, which is currently at the end of the array. All right, so we've got states 4, and we are going to say West Virginia. Okay. All right. So now we are going to add New Jersey to the end of the array. So we could do the same thing we did with West Virginia and just put a 5 in here. But let's imagine that we don't know how long the array is. So if we don't know how long the array is, we're going to use a method called push, which is going to add whatever we want to the end of the array. Okay, so we are going to say states.push. And within that, we are going to go ahead and add New Jersey. Now, what's cool about push is that we could add multiple items to the end of this array. So if we wanted, we could add New Jersey. We could also add New York, okay? So let's do that. So we'll say we'll add New Jersey and New York using the push command. Or method, excuse me. All right, so now we are going to use the sort method, and that sort method is going to sort our array items alphabetically. And this should work because we're using strings, and when we use the sort method, it's actually using the Unicode value. So remember when we were talking about binary numbers and hexadecimal and all of that, we were talking about how letters have a Unicode value, which ultimately can be represented in binary. Okay, so because we are sorting things that are alphabetical and all are capitalized, we can use the traditional sort value or the traditional sort method, and it will work exactly how we want it to. All right. Okay, so now we have created an array called states, added West Virginia to the end, and then added both New Jersey and New York to the end using the push method. We've then sorted the array using the sort method, and now we need to write it to our page. Okay, so we are going to use document.write, and we are going to create an unordered list. So when we use document.write, essentially it is writing HTML directly into the body of our page, of our HTML page, okay? So we can use HTML tags so that we can change how how our information looks. All right, so we've got document.write, and then we are going to use a for loop to loop through the array to print each value within the array as a new list item. In order to do this, like I said, we'll use a for loop. Now remember how for loops look. We're going to say var x equals 0, right? X is less than states.length x plus plus. All right, so look, so before we start writing this loop, I want to draw your attention to a couple things. States.length is going to return how many items are in the list, okay? So even though the index starts at 0, right? We've got 0, 1, 2, 3. For example, in this particular starter array, the highest index value is 3. The length of states at this point on line 8 would be 4, okay? So the length is the number of items. The index is essentially what place it's in minus 1. All right. That might be a good place to pause and rewind if you're following along with me. Okay, so we are going to do document.write. And we are going to say list item, right? Plus states x plus end li. Cool? All right, now with this one, you're like, wait a minute, we're starting with 0. Yeah, it's awesome, right? So we start with 0. It's going to give us the first number because what this tells it to do is to go to the location at whatever the index value is, the index value being x, and give us whatever piece of information is there. All right. And then the last thing is we are going to end our unordered list. So we are just going to do document.write, and it will be end ul. All right. Okay, go ahead and save your code. And we are going to do browser preview. Preview that sucker. And there we go. We have a sorted list of states. If your end page doesn't look like this, make sure you go back through the code and make sure that your code matches my code.